Okay, so you're building a modern AI chatbot. Right away, you hit this massive fork in the road. Today, we're going to break down the two core philosophies that basically decide how your chatbot thinks. Is it going to follow a strict script, or will it be free to improvise? And really, it all boils down to this single question. Are you building for control, or are you building for creativity? Do you need an experience that's predictable, totally locked down, or are you aiming for something a little more flexible, more natural, more spontaneous? This choice is pretty much the first and most important one you're going to make. So at a really high level, you've got these two paths. The first is deterministic. You can think of this like a flowchart. It's predictable, it's scripted, and you have all the control. The second path is generative. This is more like improv comedy. It feels natural, it's driven by the AI itself, and it gives you a ton of flexibility. These really are two completely different ways of thinking about conversation. All right, let's dive into that first path, the path of control. This approach is all about you maintaining explicit, step-by-step authority over every single turn in the conversation. The best way to picture this is like one of those choose-your-own-adventure books. Yeah, the AI is smart enough to figure out which page the user wants to turn to, but here's the key. You, the author, have already written every single page, every single pathway in advance. Nothing is left to chance. So the process is super predictable, right? A user says something, the AI matches that to an intent you've already defined, and from that moment on, the agent is locked into this predefined path that you built, which leads to a scripted response you wrote. It's a clean, reliable, and totally repeatable system. And the crucial point here is that you have complete control. This is exactly what you want for scenarios where you absolutely, positively cannot risk the AI going off script. We're talking about things like processing a payment, giving a legal disclaimer, or walking someone through a really complex, regulated process. You need precision, and deterministic flows deliver that. Okay, now let's completely flip the coin and look at the other side of the spectrum. This is a conversational experience built on freedom and creativity instead of rigid control. So if the deterministic agent was that pre-written book, a fully generative one is more like an expert improv comedian. It uses large language models, or LLMs, to tap into this massive well of knowledge. You give it some general instructions, but it actually creates its responses in real time to be as natural and as relevant as possible. So you're probably wondering, how do you guide this improv comedian? Well, you don't write scripts. Instead, you give it two main things. First up, you have playbooks. Think of these like director's notes about the agent's goals and personality. And second, you give it data stores, which is basically its library, your websites, your documents, all the content it needs to study to come up with smart answers. And the huge advantage here? Speed. I mean, instead of handwriting hundreds of different conversational turns, you just give it the raw materials and the high-level instructions. This can seriously cut down on your development time and makes the agent a whole lot easier to update down the road. So we've seen total control on one side and total creativity on the other. But here's the thing, you don't have to live at the extremes. What if your project actually needs a mix of both? You know, this is a super common problem. Maybe 90% of your conversation needs to be totally locked down and scripted. But then there's that one specific part, like answering open-ended questions about a product, where you really need that creative flexibility. The solution isn't to just pick one or the other. The really smart play is to inject these generative powers exactly where you need them, right inside your structured deterministic flow. These tools are kind of like creative escape hatches from your script. For example, a generator can be called on to handle a complex task right in the middle of a flow, like summarizing a long order. And generative fallback is like your safety net. If a user goes totally off script, instead of the bot just saying, "I don't understand," the AI can generate a genuinely helpful response on the fly. So with all these options on the table, deterministic, generative, and this hybrid approach, how do you actually choose? Let's break down the decision-making process. Okay, this is the crucial takeaway. It all comes down to what you need most. If you need absolute, total control over every single word for really precise tasks, you go deterministic. Simple as that. But if your priority is a natural-feeling Q&A bot that you can launch quickly, then you're going to want to go fully generative. It's really just about mapping your project's goals to the right tool. And this is so important to remember. It is not a strict binary choice. Honestly, the most powerful and robust agents often start with a solid deterministic foundation for all the critical stuff.
And then they strategically sprinkle in these generative elements to handle the tricky parts and just make the user experience better. So, as you go to design your next AI conversation, keep this one question front and center. Will it be scripted or will it be spontaneous? Because your answer is going to define the entire experience for your user.